Hello and welcome to Sega News Bits. I'm Barry, with me is George.
Hello everybody.
And we are going to be talking about Metacritic. Now I know people, they get their pants in a bunch when we talk Metacritic sometimes, but this is good news. Metacritic has a list. They've been doing this for the past, I want to say, 9 years. It's, I didn't even know the internet was that old, but yeah, it's the 9th annual Game Publisher Rankings. And what's interesting about these is it ranks the publishers, but what it does is it takes the average Metascore for all games released in 2018, and then it takes a percent of the scored products with good reviews, a percent of the scored products with bad reviews, and then the number of great titles. So it's a strange formula, but pretty much you get a number at the end, and it tells you how well they did as a publisher with their output and critics. And so let's run through the top 3. So number 1, we have Capcom. Previous year, they were ranked 5th. What do you think about this ranking?
That's pretty well established. I think they earned it. I've been thinking about their games lately, and they've done a great job. I think their fighting game scene has suffered, but outside of their fighting game, they've done a really good job with Monster Hunter World and even the new Resident Evil 2 that just came out. Even though this is not in this chart, they've still been doing a good job, and they're improving and really taking fan feedback. They remind me a lot of Sega, like what Sega's doing.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Is there an area you think they could improve?
Well, they're fighting games and maybe do a lot more things with Mega Man, even though I don't always agree with what Sega's doing with Sonic. They use them a lot more than what Capcom uses Mega Man. So
yeah, that's for sure. I would say they, like you said, they need to improve their fighting games. I also think they need to do what Sega's doing and start bringing back old franchises. Like, it would be cool to see a new Tron game. It would be cool to see Power Stone 3, or just an HD collection of the first 2. I think those games are vastly underrated. If you didn't go to arcades that had it, or own a Dreamcast, or have a PSP, you don't know about these games, and they're fantastic games. But still, good on Capcom. So yeah, their average Metascore was 79.3. They had 14 distinct titles and 30 total products. Now, the way I think that's broken down is by platform.
Yeah.
So, you've got the Switch, Xbox One, and that's actually advantageous to these publishers, as we'll see with Sega. So, getting in here with Sega is number 2. Their previous year's rank was 3, so this is really good. They're moving up the list, slowly but surely. Their best overall release was Sonic Mania Plus for the Nintendo Switch. What do you think about this? To be honest, I think Sonic Mania Plus was great on all platforms. There was nothing held back by it. So why do you think the Switch was the top-rated one?
I don't know. I always think that Nintendo fans really just have a little more like to Sonic. I feel like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One fans are like, yeah, this is a cool game, I'll play it. But I think Sonic is more in the wheelhouse of a Nintendo fan, because a lot of the bigger Nintendo titles are like Yoshi and Captain Toad.
Right.
It's like not a lot of platforms have this type of games selling 8 million units.
Right, yeah. I do believe the Switch version sold the most for Sonic Mania Plus, and that's a good point. They do definitely favor Sonic when it comes to these things, and they're big platforming and retro game fans on the Switch, so that makes sense. This is really cool. So for Capcom, they had no best new IP. Nothing, nothing was new. Everything was old. So with Sega, though, they did have 2 Point Hospital come out, and technically it's a revival, a spiritual successor to, I don't remember what it was called. Do you remember? Something else Hospital.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but it was an older PC game, and now they did a brand new title, which is a brand new, it's going to be a franchise, what I've heard.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a lot more of it, but I wouldn't give that original IP.
Yeah. I guess it's a stretch, but still, 83, that's a good score. Worst overall release. This is something we've talked about a lot on the site. Shining Resonance Refrain for the PS4, it had a 67.
Yeah.
So that means that the Switch and Xbox One ports actually did better if this is the lowest scored game. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the PS4 version got the lowest rating?
You know what? I think it is. It's the graphics are not that impressive for the PlayStation 4 because it's a PS3 port, And then there's also a lot more JRPGs on the PS4 that are, you know, customly built for the system.
True.
That are probably worth your time and money.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then the other little call out here is that the Metacritic user's favorite was Sonic Mania Plus, again on the Switch. So this received an 8.9 user rating, which is not too far off from the 91 that it received. So that's great for them. And I should note, all of the numbers I'm reading here for Sega actually beat the numbers for Capcom. The difference is Capcom released fewer titles that ranked higher, and Sega released more titles that ranked both high and probably lower that just brought them down a little bit. So Sega's overall Metascore distribution is 3.0 points more than last year, so it's at 78.5. There's a pie graph on here, so they are a good rating. And so-so. There's no bad releases, no red, so that's really good for them. What's interesting too is this includes Atlas, and no Atlas games are listed here. So Sega, I mean, I thought Atlas games did really well in scores, especially Persona. Why am I not seeing any Atlas games in the best overalls here?
I don't think they released anything. A lot of their stuff has been like in the waitings, like Catherine Full Body isn't out. They still have another Persona. Oh, they did have the Persona dancing games, right?
Yeah, I guess maybe those did well, but not well enough to beat Sonic Mania Plus. That would make sense.
Yeah, like I feel like the games just were 70-ish. I think they only do really, really high when they make a big release, like Persona 5 or Shin Megami Tensei 5, whenever that comes out.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. And then I just wanted to touch on EA because it's just kind of cool to see Sega beating EA on this list. So you might be wondering, how did Sega beat EA? Well, first off, last year or the previous year, like 2017, they did not even chart because they did not release enough games to even classify as a publisher for this list, which is kind of funny. And so for 2018, they had actually, you know, you look at the bar graph here, they had more games per the ratio that did well, better than Sega. However, all the scores were a little lower, so their best overall release was FIFA 19 with 83. Their worst was this game called Fe, F-E, I don't know what that is, at 70. So, you know, math is a crazy thing. And so you can go to this list and really dig through the numbers and see why things rated what they rated. But still, it's I think it's very good for Sega that they made this list. I was going on to some forums that are famous for hating on Sega, like Reset Era. Yeah, they were like, this list is weird. And I'm like, oh, it's weird just because Sega's doing well, you dorks.
Yeah, I'm surprised Nintendo didn't do better on this list. What place did they come in?
So Nintendo placed 4th. They used to be in Sega's slot at 2. They actually dropped 1.6 points. And despite having Super Smash Bros. Ultimate doing 93, it looks like Kirby Battle Royale really dragged them down. They actually had a lot of games that rated so-so. Then again, you look at, you know, Sega, they released 41 distinct products and 12 of them were so-so, whereas Nintendo released 30 distinct products and 20 of them. So that kind of gives you more of an idea, like 20 out of the 30 games, I guess. 11, I'm sorry, the bar graph goofed up on me. So 11, so 1/3 of their games received so-so ratings.
That's interesting.
So what do you guys think about Sega's placement? Do you think they have what it takes to reach number 1 in 2019? I don't know about that, but maybe, who knows? Sound off in the comments below, or you can just talk to your computer and we might talk back. You never know.
What was that? What did you say? Say it in my face.
Good pick. Good pick, dude. Awesome.